Tried to turn that job down.
Are you serious?
Multiple times.
That's so funny.
And I was like, I know they talk so much politics on the show, and I'm not comfortable with that, so no.
I'd stop calling it a lie.
Okay.
Well, here's what it says. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said, I can do this. And he did it.
The secret is finally out in the open. Candace Cameron Bure, the former host of The View, has just dropped a series of shocking revelations about the daytime show. And believe me, it's nothing short of explosive. She peeled back the curtain on how what once started as lighthearted gossip and casual conversation slowly twisted into a heated political battleground. And right at the center of all that chaos stood none other than Whoopi Goldberg, the undisputed queen of fiery and often unhinged hot takes. So buckle up, get ready for the ride. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to get wild.
If I'm not wrong, because I don't know too much about The View, but I've seen definitely like some controversial clips online or on YouTube. Yeah. That's a primarily liberal audience.
Oh yeah, it is. That whole show started, and it's called The View because it's supposed to be 5 different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much one viewpoint.
That's what I picked up.
Yeah, there's usually like one token conservative. So I was that conservative for 2 years on this show.
But going into it, you knew that you were going to be that kind of token target.
Yeah.
For years, I've carried the suspicion, and now it feels clearer than ever. On paper, The View boasts a token conservative to keep the panel balanced, and right now that role belongs to Alyssa Farah Griffin. But let's be real, she's hardly the strong conservative voice she's supposed to be. Time after time, Alyssa struggles to present, let alone defend, genuine conservative values. Instead, she's regularly drowned out by the louder and more aggressive liberal personalities who dominate the table like a chorus of shrieking banshees. The dynamic is a fair exchange of ideas. It's an ambush, yet the producers pat themselves on the back, proudly insisting the show represents diversity of thought and a healthy balance. But who are they fooling? Much like CNN, which has mastered the art of pretending to be neutral while parroting the same old progressive talking points, The View plays by the same script. The reality is simple. The goal has never been open debate. It's about packaging liberal ideology under the comforting illusion of fairness, while quietly suffocating any real conservative perspective before it ever has a chance to gain momentum.
I tried to turn that job down.
Are you serious?
Multiple times.
That's so funny.
And I was like, I know they talk so much politics on the show, and I'm not comfortable with that, so no. And then they came back and they were like, we're actually switching it. It's going to be more pop culture, more evergreen topics. We're not really going to talk about politics that much. And it was like, okay. And then I was like, well, I live in LA and I'm not moving to New York, so no. And they said, we'll fly you back and forth every week. We'll pay for the tickets every week.
The biggest open door.
They just kept upping the ante. Like everything I tried to say no to, they had a solution for.
Candace Cameron Bure spent 2 long years sitting at The View's table, and in that time she became little more than a punching bag for the endless stream of radical left rhetoric dominating nearly every exchange. No matter what she said, the atmosphere was charged, and she was constantly on the defensive. When Candace first signed her contract, the producers painted a very different picture. They promised a shift toward lighter fare, segments built around celebrity gossip, lifestyle chatter, and playful conversations about pop culture. For a brief moment, it sounded like a show that could actually be fun. But that promise disappeared almost overnight. The second the producers realized that simply mentioning Donald Trump could send ratings skyrocketing and clicks pouring in, everything changed. The spotlight moved, the tone hardened, and the entire format shifted gears. Suddenly, politics became the show's lifeline, and Trump bashing turned into its bread and butter. Day after day, episode after episode, his name was forced into the conversation. What could have been a space for balance and entertainment transformed into a relentless political circus, where Trump wasn't just a topic. He was the obsession, the villain, and the guaranteed headline.
How did you prepare for each and every episode?
Girl, I have never prepared like I have prepared for that show in my life, okay? You basically get a packet of about 80 topics the night before because they're all current events. They keep moving and changing, whatever happens in the news cycle. So I would spend probably a minimum of 4 hours each night researching all 80 topics so I could understand what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And then on the morning of, with the hosts and the producers, they break it down. We go through all 80 topics and then pinpoint maybe 7 or 8 of those that we're actually going to discuss on the show.
And this right here explains why The View has earned such a notorious reputation for serving up some of the strangest, most tone-deaf takes on television. The show rarely feels like it's built on careful research or thoughtful planning. Instead, it often seems as if the producers toss a few half-baked talking points into a blender, hand them to panel, and simply wait for sparks to fly. What the audience gets is a chaotic mashup of opinions, delivered with the full authority of fact. Even when those claims collapse under the lightest bit of scrutiny, it's not balance, it's not analysis, it's noise dressed up as wisdom. Rather than providing viewers with well-prepared insights or genuine debate, the hosts usually fall back on knee-jerk reactions, emotional tirades, and monologues stuffed with buzzwords. The aim isn't truth or accuracy. It's about keeping the drama alive and the ratings high. And yet, they deliver every improvised hot take with the seriousness of gospel, as if the panel's word were beyond question. No wonder so many viewers leave each episode not enlightened, but confused, frustrated, and in many cases, outright misled.
I don't miss The View at all. I love being on talk shows. I love hosting talk shows,
Right.
but that was a hard job every single day in, day out, talking politics.
Yeah.
So-
And Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my faith, that was the easiest part for me to be able to talk about my faith and share my faith. But I'm happy right now not to be on that show and talk about lighter topics right now.
The View has transformed into nothing less than a toxic battlefield for conservatives, especially for anyone bold enough to show support for Donald Trump. Picture walking onto that set day after day, fully aware that your favorite president is about to be dragged to the mud in almost every single segment. The weight of that expectation isn't just exhausting. It's mentally and emotionally draining. Instead of open dialogue or honest debate, conservatives find themselves cornered, constantly on the defensive. Each discussion feels like a struggle just to push back against an endless wave of negativity, with little chance to actually be heard. And then there are co-hosts like Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin, who never miss an opportunity to twist a knife. Nearly every topic is filtered through a lens that casts conservatives as the villains of the story. The hostility isn't subtle. It's built into the very rhythm of the show. Over time, the atmosphere shifts. It's no longer about sharing perspectives or sparking meaningful conversation. It becomes a matter of survival. Any conservative voice is quickly drowned out before it can even gain traction, leaving the panel to echo the same tired narrative, unchallenged and unbalanced.
There was only one type of stress that I've ever felt in my life that came from that show. It was so difficult. And to manage that emotional stress was very, very hard. Felt like I was going into a show that I didn't have a clear opinion about or nervous to talk about.
Candace Cameron Bure described her time on The View as one of the most stressful experiences of her life. She admitted the emotional weight was unlike anything she had ever dealt with before. Each morning felt like walking into a storm, uncertain of what was coming, unsure whether she could even speak freely, and often too nervous to share what she truly thought. According to Candace, authenticity on the show was almost non-existent. Many times, she couldn't even bring her own opinions to the table because producers had already mapped out the narrative they wanted pushed. Every conversation felt rehearsed, carefully crafted to serve a single agenda rather than an honest exchange of ideas. In her own words, the show wasn't about free expression. It was a finely tuned machine designed to take constant aim at Republicans, and especially Donald Trump. Any co-host who dared to challenge that formula was either subtly nudged or directly pressured into silence, all to preserve the illusion of unity. That manufactured environment sheds light on what we see with Alyssa Farah Griffin today. It's not that she has no opinions. She has plenty. The real problem is finding the space or the courage to voice them candidly. On hot button, divisive issues, the system is stacked against dissent. And when the game is rigged that way, speaking your mind isn't just risky, it's almost impossible.
Different reactions when you're put under pressure. So they talk about fight or flight. Like, do you fight? Are you ready to go for it? Or do you want to take off? Like, you want to hide and you want to run? And I would say I am a flight person.
Really?
I don't love conflict. I'm not afraid of it. I like resolution. So I'm always happy to have the discussion because I like directness and I like resolution. But I'm not like, my gut reaction is not to fight with people. I want to take a hike. So with that, I think my disposition helped me in that when people really come at me, I don't get super riled up. Like, I don't put on the boxing glove.
Trust me, even if you're the kind of person who thrives on conflict, nothing truly prepares you for the relentless emotional grind of sitting at the View's table. Picture it. Day after day, you're seated across from the unyielding trio of Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin. Every episode feels less like a conversation and more like stepping into a 3-on-1 cage match, where the rules are written against you before the bell even rings. No matter how sharp your arguments are, they're quickly buried beneath a flood of interruptions, sarcastic quips, and a wall of liberal talking points blasted at full volume. The goal isn't dialogue, it's domination, and the toll it takes is crushing. Mentally and emotionally, you're left drained, constantly scrambling just to defend your position in a place where balance was never on the agenda. That's why conservative voices rarely last long on the show. They either burn out, get silenced into submission, or eventually choose to walk away altogether. Meanwhile, the liberal voices continue to thrive, protected, amplified, and unchallenged. What's left isn't real debate at all, but an echo chamber cleverly dressed up to look like one.
So it was really challenging, but I did as much prep work as I could. Felt like I was in college or in high school or whatever. Yeah. So when I knew the decided on topics, and politics is not my strong suit, or at least it wasn't then. I know a whole lot more about politics now, but I was really learning politics while I was doing that show because we just weren't a family that ever talked about politics at home. So I had a couple of very faithful friends in my life that committed to that 1 hour in the morning of my prep time, because that's about what you get. You get your makeup and hair time, and then but during your makeup and hair time, you have like about an hour and a half before you go on live TV.
I know this was the Lord that calls you to this because this is so stressful.
As if clashing with hostile co-hosts wasn't already overwhelming, conservative panelists on The View also face an equally unforgiving audience. No matter how sharp, witty, or even reasonable their remarks may be, the response is rarely applause. Instead, they're greeted with groans, exaggerated sighs, and dismissive eye rolls, gestures designed not just to disagree, but to rattle their confidence and push them towards silence. This is an audience eager for genuine perspective. It's a live studio jury stacked with loyal liberals, ready to erupt in cheers only when their own worldview is repeated back to them. For someone like Candace Cameron Bure, that dynamic created a suffocating atmosphere. Each time she opened her mouth, she wasn't simply sparring with co-hosts. She was staring down a crowd that treated her presence as an intrusion. It's little wonder she often felt anxious and isolated on stage. What was billed as conversation quickly revealed itself to be something far more manipulative. Ambush theater dressed up and sold to viewers as harmless daytime television.
I'd stop calling it a lie. Okay, well, here's what it says. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said, I can do this, and he did it. So I think, for many, many reasons, this is very different than any other situation that we have ever dealt.
Now we've got Jon Stewart, another lefty, losing it, but at least he did try to inject a little humour into proceedings. Sure, as usual with Jon Stewart, he is years late to the party. He said nothing about this Biden family and their dodgy business dealings when it actually mattered. But now, in the final weeks of Biden's lame duck presidency, He's bravely cracking jokes.
Democrats have a moral perch from which they can judge without shame, hypocrisy, or nuance.
Breaking news, President Biden has issued a pardon for his son Hunter Biden.
Mother... We were so close.
You know what? It may be a little gutless to finally be showing some interest in the Hunter Biden laptop story and what it all means, but at least Stewart is funny here.
I'm sure the pardon is a narrowly written, precisely drawn farewell note of compassion for a loved one.
The pardon sweeping, covering offenses that Hunter Biden, quote, has committed or may have committed or taken part in over the past 11 years.
Years is a very specific and not rounded amount of time. So, Hunter, I'll give you a pardon. A few years, 5 years, 10 years. It needs to be 11.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gader. Kosha, let's start in New York City, where the mayor there, Democrat Mayor Eric Adams, is now siding with Donald Trump on the illegal immigration issue.
This right here is a textbook case of the Trump derangement syndrome that Candace Cameron Bure warned about, and nowhere is it clearer than with Whoopi Goldberg. Watch closely. She'll bend over backwards to defend Hunter Biden, even when he's caught red-handed mishandling sensitive information. But the second Donald Trump's name comes up, she practically foams at the mouth, parroting the long-debunked Russia collusion hoax as if it were gospel truth. The double standards couldn't be more glaring. Hunter Biden was investigated, charged, and even convicted. Yet Goldberg casually sweeps all of that under the rug, as if it were irrelevant. Meanwhile, she has no hesitation in demanding that Trump be arrested and locked away. Not on evidence, but on accusations that have since been dismantled piece by piece. Call it what you want, but it's not journalism, and it certainly isn't balanced commentary. It's pure partisanship, carefully packaged and broadcast as if it were legitimate news. And perhaps the most disturbing part of all, millions of viewers tune in every single day, soaking it up without realizing they're being spoon-fed bias in place of facts.
The thing that really pisses me off about this is, if y'all really cared about children, where are the tax credits? Where's the paid family leave? Where's the free health care?
Yep, she's demanding tax credits, but now that the Trump administration is coming through with some relief, she ain't happy.
So as birth rates continue to decline in America, the White House is looking into offering $5,000 cash bonuses, expanded access to IVF, along with other incentives for women to have more babies.
Why?
And, okay. I am incredibly insulted by this because clearly they don't know how women's bodies work.
Oh, she's so insufferable, isn't she?
By now, it's clear just how dangerous the minefield is for conservatives like Alyssa Farah Griffin and Candace Cameron Bure every time they step onto the View stage. What's framed as debate is anything but. It's a no-win setup, carefully crafted by Whoopi Goldberg and her liberal allies. Nothing ever satisfies them. First, they press you to clarify your stance. But the moment you do, they pounce, tearing you apart as if simply answering their demand were a crime. It's a relentless cycle of bait and bash, a tactic designed not to engage but to exhaust. For conservatives, it stops being about conversation and becomes pure survival against impossible odds. The set doesn't feel like a talk show anymore. It feels like a rigged courtroom, where the verdict is already decided and is always guilty. At its core, The View has never been about honest dialogue. It's about enforcing one narrative and silencing any voice that dares to dissent. Conservative co-hosts like Candace and Alyssa walk into a stacked deck. Hostile co-hosts wait and ambush them, a biased audience ready to jeer, and producers feeding scripted talking points. Balance is nothing more than facade. And with that, we draw the curtain on today's breakdown. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned, because there's plenty more to uncover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.